Moscow, one of the most expensive and bustling cities in the world. Gone, almost, are the chaos and uncertainty of the 1980s and 1990s. Russia is enjoying a stability and optimism not seen here for decades. But this is not the whole story. October 2005. The town of Nalchik in the North Caucasus is overrun by rebels. Over 100 people die in a shootout between young insurgents and the local security forces. The rebels say they have been facing brutal discrimination for their religious beliefs. The security forces say they're dealing with Islamist terrorists. The wars in Chechnya, the school siege in Beslan, and shortly later Nalchik. In the continuing violence in Russia's volatile North Caucasus, the Kremlin fears the loss of control.
We are dealing with international terror directed at Russia, a total, brutal war that takes the lives of our citizens again and again.
For the Kremlin, the solution to the problem is clear. With increasing authoritarianism, it is extending its force in all areas of life.
President Putin has recently signed 3 laws, and they've really created quite a stir. They affect the interaction with individuals considered to be extremists by the state. They prevent open discussion of terrorist-related events, and they legislate the cash flow, financing and activity of NGOs. What we want to find out is what impact these laws are having.
Moscow is insisting that the state needs these laws to survive. But critics say the Kremlin is infringing on civil liberties. Grigory Shvedov works for the human rights NGO Memorial. He has made it his task to monitor human rights abuses in the region and is keeping a close eye on the effects of these new laws.
Putin laws are legitimating the process of abusing rights of the people on the different levels. So mainly they are not made to change something, to use new instruments. Mainly they are made to say torture is normal, kidnapping is normal. There is no normal thing as a freedom of press during counter-terrorist operation.
What precautions do you think should we take, and what's the risk?
I think there is a risk because we just have news from time to time that in the Caucasus people and foreigners as well disappears.
Grigory advised us to keep in constant touch with our colleagues at home. Our movements might be monitored. Nalchik is the capital of the Russian Republic of Kabardino Balkaria. Nearly 2,000 kilometers south of Moscow, it lies nestled in the palm of the Caucasus Mountains, a key town in a volatile region. Today, Nalchik is on show. The president of Kabardino Balkaria is leading the celebrations of what the authorities are calling 85 years of statehood.
This is a real high-profile event. The president of Kabardino Balkaria has been joined by the presidents of North Ossetia and Chechnya, and they're all pro-Kremlin people, and they're showing their solidarity with him.
The presidents are joined by General Troshev, all in white, the Russian army's hero of the war in Chechnya. As a symbol of their unity and loyalty to Moscow, they lay wreaths to the Soviet dead in World War II. It seems like everyone's out celebrating, an opportunity to have a show of unity and harmony, the Russians and the Caucasians together. Just like in the Soviet days, it's one big happy family. But not everyone is joining in the celebrations. We'd been told that across town, outside the prosecutor's office, we'd find the relatives of the young men who were killed in the uprising.
They've closed the roads and people are going to celebrate. But for these people here, there is no celebration. The children have been killed. The bodies of the children have not been returned for burial. They come here every day to the general prosecutors, hoping that they'll receive the bodies for burial.
Could you introduce me to the women and tell me a little bit more about what happened to them?
Arkestova with a photo of her brother, Kirbieva. Next to her is Zoya Afonova. Her son was killed and son-in-law arrested. Dirova Jablet, unmarried, 20 years. We want his body to be given so we can bury. Within a year, one was killed, the other one was arrested.
How many of you are there? I mean, you're showing me photos. How many bodies are there that have not been returned?
Ни одно дело не вернули. Ну, официально называют 97.
Not a single body has been returned. Officially, there are 97, but parents who have looked at the bodies in refrigerated carriages say there are more than 130 or 150 bodies.
The police at the prosecutor's office are not happy that the relatives are talking to us. Under Putin's new laws, this gathering could be considered an illegal activity.
They told us that if we want to keep our tapes, it's best to stop filming now. They've also advised us to take a taxi and meet our driver later.
On the other side of town, Nalchik's official celebrations suddenly look different. Outside the stadium, President Arsen Kanakov was being interviewed. We asked the question local media couldn't.
There are claims that some of the Muslims here are being persecuted for political or religious reasons. What do you say about that?
Indeed, there have been such cases. We don't deny that. And we're changing that situation now. We're going to open several prayer houses. Everyone should have the right to practice the faith they choose. We'll be working towards changing things.
Inside the stadium, the celebrations were reaching a climax. Moscow's finest artists had been flown in for the event. Nalchik, it seemed, was two parallel worlds. The celebrations over, we wanted to find out more about the grievances of the relatives we'd met the previous day. Larisa Dorogova is representing them at the Strasbourg Court of Human Rights in their quest to get the bodies of their sons and husbands back. Larissa had some disturbing evidence to show us. Footage secretly filmed on a mobile phone after the shootout with the security forces.
Who filmed this? Who was taking the pictures?
It was filmed by parents and wives of the dead who went into the carriage to identify the dead. But it was impossible to identify because the bodies lay on top of each other.
Why have these bodies not been released by the police?
The General Prosecutor's Office refers to a law on burial, and if the General Prosecutor considers it was an act of terrorism, then the bodies are not given back as the bodies of terrorists. But we do not agree that it was an act of terrorism. I think it was an armed uprising to uphold people's rights.